Hey guys, this is going to be a video on how many cars you actually need for your layout. And I did this a while back and a lot of y'all watched it and a lot of y'all didn't watch it, and I got one or two questions about it the past 2 days. And so I'm going to go over it again on how many cars you actually need for your layout to make it run properly. The number one thing you don't want is a car sitting in your yard collecting dust. That is a no-no. Because if it's collecting dust, then you shouldn't have bought it in the first place, for one. And number two, if it's just collecting dust, take that car, put it on a rack on the wall, and hold it for future runs or whatever. But it does not need to be sitting in your yard collecting dust. That's not how the railroad works. The railroad works in a full operational logistic style. Any car that's on the rails need to be in use. If it's not in the yard, getting ready to be used, it is at a spotting drop, being loaded, and if it's not being loaded, it is on the bound, which means it is either inbound or outbound, sitting over here on a stage track waiting to be loaded or unloaded or processed at its destination point. So I'm going to go over that, how many cars you need on your layout to make it run smoothly, because having too many cars is ridiculous. All right, let's go to the board. And as you can see, each company has a certain car on it. The railroad works the same way. The railroad, each company leases a certain amount of cars to be used. For example, this chemical plant, the Mariani Chemical Processing Plant, orders so many cars for lease so many cars. Majority of the cars they buy, where I used to work at, majority of the cars were bought and then put with the Eastman Eastman Chemical name on it, which was ETCX, Eastman Chemicals, ETCX. Okay, so those cars were bought by the plant, and they had so many cars on hand for that plant because they went from one plant to another plant. It went from the Longview plant to the Tennessee plant for processing. So that's how that works. Okay, now some of the cars were leased, like a Huntsman or a Union Tank car, or I believe there was another one, I can't remember, but those cars were leased to the plant at a low price to be sent from this plant, from one plant to be either loaded at another facility or cleaned or whatever. But at the end of it, those cars were used no matter what. And if a car is sitting somewhere and it hasn't been used, then it has no need to be on the rails. And they will tell you the same thing. Trust me, I know. So let's do this from a rail ordering logistic point of view. All right, let's get my marker. All right, there, knock that down. All right, we're gonna use JAKTEX for a minute. JAKTEX Chemical. JAKTEX has on hand order of 9 rail cars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, it has 9 cars on ordered are leased to this company. They're leased. Okay, well actually they don't lease these cars. That place leased the cars and send those cars to JAKTEX. JAKTEX, all they do is just receive the car and unload the car and send the car back to Chemtech. Mariani Chemical Processing. They're in charge of all the orders and buys and leasing of the cars. They don't have no say-so in it. All they do is grab the car, get the road number, make a switch list of what they got on hand, and then that's it. They just unload the cars and send the cars back. They paid for them to ship that to them. So they pay them, they ship that to them, if that makes sense. Okay, so they got two spot and drops here. Spot one and spot two on the inside track. The outside track is a staging area, so it's a 2-car spot and drop. So this is a 2-car spot and drop. Okay, now here we go. Now over here there is our staging, our spot and drop, our pocket track or a runaround track, but it's also a staging area for all the cars that come to the closet branch. We do not have a yard, we have this. So we got 1 car there, but we're gonna count this as 2 cars, so I can make this a lot more easy for you to understand. So there's 2 cars here. Okay, from there the outbound yard has 2 cars in there. So whatever comes from here goes over there, and in there the yard master or dispatch will order 2 cars out of there that needs to go over there that they ordered. They will grab those cars and set them to the outbound train. Okay, but before they go there, they'll be here at the processing or loading docks, where they are loaded and then sent to there. But before they come here, they're at the wash rack, which are being processed and cleaned to be going over here. And anything from here comes there. We're not going to count this area. We're not going to count that. Do not worry about this. This is 0. This doesn't mean anything. Even though you see tank cars in there, it's still valued as 0. Because if we count this yard, that means we'll have an overflow coming from there. Okay, so we got 2 cars that's going to JAKTEX there. We have 2 cars that's at JAKTEX unloading. We have 2 cars that's in the yard over here at JAKTEX now over there for outbound, and we have 2 cars that's at JAKTEX right here, and then we have over here at JAKTEX 2 cars on the stage, and then we have 2 cars that's been unloaded right there. So let's count the spots. We got 1 spot, 2, 3 spots, 4 spots, 5 spots, 6 spots. We have 6 spots, so we got 6 spots. We got 6 destinations. Take that 2 down. We have 6 destinations times 2 equals 12 cars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We only got 9 cars here. But wait, we have a yard loaded in outbound for reserves. This is our outbound, but it's also where all our cars from here goes here. And these cars are loaded with whatever that's in here is going over here. So always remember, out of those 9 cars, we need 12 cars. So we got 3 cars out of those STAX that's gonna make this 12. So there you go. There's our 12 cars, because 3 cars are emergency cars for this. So there's our 12. So there is that. Now that number is going to change in the next month or 2 from 2 to 4, because there is a 4 spot and drop in here, and everything that was 2 will go to 4, and you multiply that times 2 will give you 24. Okay, so that's actually how many cars I'm going to need over there for that chemical plant. Now here we go over here. This is a 1 spot. Okay, we have a 1 spot. Where is it? Refer marker. We have a 1 spot, and we have how many spots? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 spots. I think I did the math wrong on that one. Let's see. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's right, 6. That's the only one that's going to have 6 because we have 2 cars that's reserved that's going over there. And then those cars go out. So we always keep some cars on stage here just in case. And if they have to get all 4 cars at one time, they would bring the hoses out of the inside of this building to unload these cars. And so always remember, where there's a will, there's a way to get these cars unloaded. And that is a just in case. If they're doing a high volume production, it will go from 2 to 4. That's the reason why I said 24 cars would need to be over there. But back to these 3 companies. 1, 2, 3, and that company. So we got 4 companies that will be on 5 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we got 4 companies. Okay, so that would be 5, 10, 15, 20. That's 20 cars already, plus the 12. So that's 32 cars already. Be mindful, I only have 39 cars total on this layout. 39. $39 cars. Okay, now here, now let's look at Joe. Joe has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Black Rock Depot has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Roy's Chemicals has 1, 2, 3, 4. So it has 4. And then Rontech has 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4. But it needs a car. So out of that reserve, we have 6 cars that's still in reserve out of the 39 because 3 went to JAKTEX. And now we're going to take those reserves. We'll take 1 over here to give it 5. We'll take 1 over here to Roy Kimmel to give it 5. And we don't need no cars over here because it's fully loaded. Black Rock it has 6 cars, so it has an extra car just in case. All right, so we're not going to worry about them. And this car has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this car is safe. So we take 1 car over here and 1 car for over here. So we only left with, let's see, 39, 36, 35, 34. So we have 4 cars left in the reserve. So I still have plenty enough cars to run this full layout, full operational layout. You see? So I can still run this layout with 39 rail cars and keep them in cycle, and there wouldn't be any problems necessary when I do the switching. So I might have a lot of track space, and I mean a lot of track space, but over a period of time, this yard would never go empty. This yard may have a few cars in it, but the processing area and the wash rack will always stay full. Always. And that's how you cycle your layout without having a lot of cars. Even though I have reserves, but I only have 4 cars in reserve just in case. And so that's how you figure out how many cars you need for your layout. When I do this, when I go double to 2, then I would need 10 cars per spot. See what I'm saying? Because it'll be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And I won't ever count this, because this right here doesn't mean anything, because this is 0 until it gets on the spot. You see what I'm saying? Because anything that's coming here that's been spotted on the outbound going back to the plant will be counted from here, and it'll be here. You see? You never count this here, because that's coming from over here on the closet branch. Okay? This is 0. Okay? I know that sounds silly and crazy, but if you use this method, it will make sense to you in the long run, because of the simple fact these cars are going to the wash rack, and as you can see, the wash rack is empty. That's the reason why I can't count these cars, because there's 3 spots for the wash rack. There's supposed to be 4 spots for the wash rack, but I only got 3. 4 of those cars, or 3 of those cars, would go up there. That's the reason why I didn't count those. See what I'm saying? That's why. So that is how I count how many cars I need on this layout. When I get the full amount, I will need 70 cars on this layout, because if you think about it, if you multiply everything, it'll be 20 cars over here. And let's see, wait a minute. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 5 is 20, times 2 is 40. So I have 40 cars that I need alone for this, because it is going to be a 4-spot area. It'll be 4 spots. 40 cars, okay? Then over here, it'll be 2. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8 cars. Times 5 is 40, so I need 80 cars. But I'm only going to run 70 cars, because I'm not going to go 80. I'm only going to run 70, because of the simple fact I might just keep this at 1 spot, and I might just keep those at 1 spot. But RunTech will more likely be a 2-spot. It has to be a 2-spot, and those can be 1 spots. So that's the reason why I said 70 cars. It calls for 80 cars, but I'm only going to do 70. Okay? So I have 39 cars here. I need, what? Just bought a scale trains today. So that's 40. So I need 40 more cars. Yeah. Yay. So that is how I figure out how many cars I need for my layout. Always remember, if you're doing a point-to-point destination, it's in the value of 3 or in the value of 4, depending on how many yards you have. If you have 4 yards, 2 yards on your layout on a point-to-point, then it will be, say for example, this is the yard that's feeding this plant. Any spot and drops here, say for instance, you have 2 spots here, 2 spots here, 2 spots here. So you will have to count 2, 4 for the yard, 6 for the other yard, and then 8 for the spot and drops over there, because whatever's feeding this yard is going to a destination over here for this side of the yard. So you per plant. So we have 2, 4, 6. 6 times 4 is 24, and then if you multiply that times 2, that's 48 cars. So you need 48 cars on 2 here, 2 here, 6 of them here, 2 of them here, 6 of them in the yard, and then that's, you need 48. So you need at least 12 in the yard over here, 12 over yard over here, 12 on the bound, because you're going to have a train going inbound, and then you're going to have a train going outbound. So it's feeding each other. So there's always a train running on the inbound outbound track. So that's where you get your 48 cars. 12 in the yard, 2 on spot, two on spot, 6 in the yard per car. So if you have 2, 4, 6 here, and then you have 2, 4, 6 here, that's 36 times, yeah, well, 48 cars. If you do that math right, and I might be wrong, but always remember, whatever you do, however you do it, you multiply your cars by the number of drops times how many yards or how many bounds you're going to have. If you have 1 bound going to this side and then 1 bound going to the other side, you have so many cars on that going to each destination. Therefore, there won't be these cars just sitting in the yard, because they're always in a flux. They're always moving, and you're always rotating them out. They don't stay in the yard for long. They're always changing and moving, and that's what this is all about. And the number one thing y'all have to remember, and this is key, is this. FIFO, first in, first out. They use this in the railroad, first in, first out, because of the simple fact that a grain car has a shelf time. Sugar cars have shelf time. Everything has a shelf time. It cannot sit in that yard over a period of time. If it was the first car to be set in that yard, it is the first car to be going out of that yard. If it's always remember, first in, first out. So whatever comes through this chemical processing plant, it goes here. If the date says that there's a car in there that's been there and it needs to go first, then that car goes. Not the car that's in the plant that just came out of the plant. It's the car that's already in the yard that needs to go out first. Okay? So that's the method, first in, first out. That is key to the railroad. It is very key to everything involving the railroad. Even a car on an auto rack has a shelf time, because it's, in fact, that son of a gun on that auto rack ain't making no money because it ain't been sold. So it needs to be off the auto rack in process. Computer sitting in a storage container on a double stack cannot make any money because it's sitting on a storage container. It needs to be processed. It needs to be shipped out. So everything has a FIFO method in the railroad. It's hard to believe, but it is true. A coal train has a shelf time of 48 hours because it makes money. It needs to heat a coal plant. It needs to, once it is processed and on the rails, and it's gone bye-bye. It is gone bye-bye to that coal plant. And once it is at that coal plant, it is shoved and unloaded, and somebody's house has electricity if they pay the damn bill. Amen. So always remember, the most important thing in the railroad is this key word here: first in, first out. All chemical resin plant, all chemical company, we make pipe. Our resin has it cannot sit out there in that car. It needs to be unloaded, and that empty car needs to be off the rail tracks so we can get another empty loaded car in. I say it and I'll say it again. The FIFO method is the most important thing in the railroad. And if you don't believe me, trust me. Trust me, it is true. But that is what was taught to me when I was there. And that guy said those cars need to be moving because time is money. And if money ain't moving, we ain't making no money, and I won't have a job. Amen. Okay, y'all. I think that's going to do it. So always remember, the most key important thing is when you want to know how many cars you want on your layout, always figure out how many spot and drops you want on one company. Spot and drops are key to knowing. So, and also the net destination locations. How many yards, if it's a point to point. If you have 1 yard over here, and if you have 1 whole yard over here, and then you have 2 trains, one going outbound, one going inbound. Those cars have to be moving from point to point. Also, the number one thing people fail to realize, they only have 1 train running at a time when they're doing a point to point. It's not that way. It always has to be one, two, or more trains on a point to point, because this train is unloaded, taking the cars there, and this train is unloaded, taking cars there. And if you're using one train, it needs to be going in one direction, and it needs to be non-stop going. So that train is picking up the cars on the outbound, and it's shoving the cars on the end. It picks up the cars, it takes it around, and it's doing the process again the next day. Because if your layout is a daily layout, you better be humping those cars. And if you do it every other day or once a week, or if you have a railroad operations with a club crew, they have to do the same process. Their process is to keep those rails moving, those rail cars moving. And that is key to a rail operations. So I hope this was insightful. I hope to God that this makes sense to y'all. I know a lot of y'all gonna debate and say, well, that ain't true. Well, then God dang it, if it ain't true, well, then you try it out and you tell me. So always remember, take your time. Find out how many cars you need for your layout. Find out how many how many cars you actually need for your spot and drops. Because I guarantee you, companies who lease these cars has to have a car. They has to have a car there. They have to have a car there. They have to have a car there. And they have to have a car somewhere on the other side of the country, getting ready to go to there. So it's a process. And always remember, the distance is key. If that train has to go 2,000 miles from California to New York City, I guarantee you, in between there are two, and if that company has a 2-spot drop, that means that company in California has 2 cars sitting there at the spot. It probably have 8 cars in the yard waiting on to be spotted, and then there are 4 to 6 cars on a train coming from New York to California, and then in California the cars that's coming here are already at the yard in New York, and they probably have 46 to 20 cars there waiting to be loaded. So it varies on how many cars you need on hand in each yard for the destination. Always remember that. It is so key to railroad operations. And I tell you, if I ain't wrong, man, I don't want to be right. All right? So I hope this was helpful. This is almost a 30-minute discussion on how many. I hope it was helpful. Please leave a comment. Until then, y'all take care. Thank you for watching, and bye.